conversations. And you know, Cindy was talking about strengths finders, and I think this is, she was bringing up something that I think is so important, and I agree with her 100% about that strengths finder, there's the book in the middle, concept, that it's about your strengths instead of about your weaknesses. It's not about what you're lacking, it's about what you are naturally good at. So that instead of focusing on, oh, I've got to fill this gap, and oh, that list of how horrible I am is so long, now I am like miserable, and instead I'm able to see, oh, wow, this is one of my strengths, and I can now build on that instead, and find somebody else who is lacking, or who has a strength where I'm lacking, and work with them, and there's a compliment there instead of, yes?
I was telling her my favorite quote is, and I can't remember who said it, but everybody is a genius until you ask a fish to climb a tree, then he feels the rest of his life, spends the rest of his life feeling stupid. It's because that's not what he does.
That's right. Dr. Seuss.
Oh, yeah, so find what you do best.
Yeah.
Because we're all genius in our own way.
And this class is now done. Okay. So now we're going to talk about time management and project management. So all of us have this reality. We all are project managers because we've got something that has to get done in a time period. And that's different than what we've been talking about so far. We've been talking about vision and mission and the big picture. But we are talking about a prototype, which is a small, but not wee in size, version of what it is that we're trying to do, and testing and reiterating in a certain period of time so that we can get information. So part of what we're going to talk about now is what project management is, what skills it takes, what tools there are out there for you to use. And this is certainly stuff that hopefully, if you're not good at this, you have found ways to compensate, whether it's with people or systems. If not, maybe some of this will be helpful, because this is the reality for most of us in all of our lives. So there's 5 different stages in project management. This is the really businessy, boring part that says, first you start with something that has to be started, so you know what you're doing. This isn't ideation, like unlike in design thinking where you're thinking about, well, what is it that I'm making and what am I designing? This is after that. This is now I'm going to make it. I know what it is, I know what it looks like, and now I have to get it done. So you figure out what that looks like, you move into execution, you monitor and control, you go through this multiple times, and you make sense? This is not rocket science. This is just how do you get from an idea and a project to the end of the day. Who has ever used Gantt charts? So part of the challenge when we're doing project management, by the way, the answer was that nobody has used these. So don't feel bad if you're like, she didn't say what it is. Gantt charts are just graphs. For some of us, I don't know about you, I'm a really visual person, and I need to see things on paper so that I can imagine time in a different way. So Gantt charts look like this. So imagine that you're planning something, and you have 4 tasks that need to happen in the planning stage. You have a quality assurance plan that has to get done, an in-stage assessment, I'm just reading words, like I don't know what these mean. Project plan and a stage exit. What the heck is the stage exit? I don't know, but it doesn't matter. What you need to see is that, look, this took time, and it took a lot of time. This took a little bit, this took a bunch, this is little, but it's connected to this one. So I know that in this planning stage, I have to do all 4 of these things before I can move to the next stage. But one of them's connected, so I can't start here and just move immediately down here. There's an order to what I'm doing. But what I also see is that in order to get to the second stage, I've got some overlap. This is literally on top of all of this other stuff that has to start. So I'm suddenly able to visualize that. Let's use somebody's example. Oh, Mona, because you're setting the store again. So there are some things that have to happen first and some things that have to happen last. And if you don't have a good sense of what happens in the middle between getting from here to here and where those overlap, you end up in a big pickle, like you did, not that you ended up in a pickle, but you have to do this with inventory. Knowing that, you know, okay, if we're gonna count everything, I gotta move everything into these piles, and I have to have the students count, and then it's gotta be transferred, and then it's gotta be related back to this, and there's a whole process. And these Gantt charts are just a visual way of finding the places where you have a log jam. When you realize that if I can't move to this next step until I get this done. And most of us discover that when we move into a back plan. Once we know where we're trying to go in a project, and you have a timeline and a date when you know you have to have everything done. So when we have to have brooms ready to sell because our catalog comes out that have the leather thing solved and they're for sale, if we know that the catalog is going to drop in early October, then to start planning backwards of what does it look like to get this thing prototyped, tested, make sure it doesn't break, and produced so that we have enough that when the catalog happens, you know, what does that entail? How are the students related to that? And sometimes using, and you know, Gantts there's free stuff on the internet all over the place to use these types of planning tools. And you just plug in what your activities are and the dates, the amount of time in some case that it will take. So it could say, you know, it's going to be 2 weeks, and it'll start to flow it for you. So you're in control of the whole thing, but it just, for me, it may not be for you, but it's easier for me to see stuff if I can see it spread out. I have to have a big calendar of the whole year up for myself, and I start writing in pieces and parts along the way so that I can see where things are hitting and where I'm like, oh my gosh, we have 17 things happening this fall. Tim and I the other day, we were just casually chatting, and I was like, Tim, isn't this the 125th anniversary of College Crafts? He's like, no. We were like, oh, yes it is. Not only is it the 100th anniversary, it's the 125th anniversary. And you know, like, huh?
It's 225 for the state.
225 for the state, right, but 125 for Berea College Crafts, that's like worth celebrating. We should be celebrating this. We got 2 anniversaries that we should be talking about. You know, it's like, oh.
Maybe? Condors.
Everybody's eating healthy up there, so we don't work that.
But you know, this kind of charting of your time, for you figuring that out, and oh my gosh, I know you do this because you've got this huge project. I'm looking at Chester, trying to figure out. Okay, I need 2,500 of this size plank in this kind of wood that has to be ready here. How am I going to make that happen, and what people do I need to be filled in here, and what's the process along the way to figure out literally how long is it going to take, and where am I going to have a bottleneck so that you don't never make it here because you got caught up in the middle here. So this is one idea for you all if you haven't tried them. This is the idea portion of your program this evening. So take a moment. If you look on page 11, before we do this exercise, I want to walk you through a couple of other resources if you haven't tried them. I swear, Google is insane. I don't know what, I mean, I'm so glad they have so much money that they can keep making more stuff for us to use for free. So if you haven't been to Google lately, just go back to Google every couple of months because they'll have some new tool that blows your mind that's free. They actually have some fairly decent time charting, Gantt style stuff, so, and again, free. So do check out Google for options related to that. The other place to go, the small business development centers have great tools usually as well. If you look in your book, sorry, you can look at Tim's. On page 11, there's a whole list of a couple of different kinds of mind mapping, depending on how you plan. If you need more really creative visual tools, there are a couple of examples of how to use those. And then I'm a big fan of lists. I'm a list girl. I have a lot of lists going at many times, and I am in love with a program called Asana, A-S-A-N-A, asana.com. It's free to use, and it allows you to have a calendar view, a list view. You can add people to your project. You share documents. It's like a project management hullabaloo, all online. And it's all in the cloud as well, so I can look at stuff on my phone. I can look at it wherever on the computer as well. But it allows me to keep the list of different projects going at the same time. But because it also has a calendar mode, I can look at all the projects as they are really falling in a calendar as well. So it's a nice visual tool. And Wunderlist, I don't know if they really say that, but I like to say it like that, is another great free one. Again, similar project management skill stuff. And these are all free. They're all free. And I don't know why we shouldn't use these awesome free tools. Time. So your personal time, and I mean like your individual time, not your personal time. That's a whole different class. Your work time is a really sometimes creepy place to explore when you realize what kind of time you spend doing different activities.